Hello everybody, it's Nikki Knox here. I've just recorded my latest episode and I apologize for being scattered. I said I don't really know what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, and I had a break from all these podcasts. And now I finished doing that and I was creating one of my YouTube videos and I can't get my thoughts together there either. I'm just asking all of these abstract questions like, have you ever felt like the world around you is so ridiculous that it's not even real? Have you? I mean, that's the question I find myself asking quite often, to be honest. What actually makes things around you real when you really think about it? Is it when somebody tells you that, I don't know, something that's happening abroad is such a big deal, blah blah blah, and you get it on the news and they create this panic about like pandemic and stuff? I'm not gonna get into conspiracy theories about anything, to be honest. It's just when it's our discernment, isn't it? It's our perspective, it's our attitude, it's our choice to believe what's real and what isn't. So for example, if I chose to believe that certain things that were happening in the world and affecting the world were not real, or they're not as big as people think they are, it kind of wasn't for me. So my reality was so much different than majority of the people's reality who chose to believe that it's all happening. So they lived in fear and panic, and they manifested illnesses and stress and anxiety and depression into their lives, and many of them actually lost their jobs, not because of what was happening, but because of they just couldn't cope with it. It was too much stress. When you think about it, they actually generated that stress within themselves by choosing to follow the news, by choosing to believe what the mass panic basically that was happening all around them. So everything that happened in their life was created by this herd mentality, where you just feel because everybody's consumed and that's the topic of the day or the week or the year, whatever, it becomes this big deal just because everybody's talking about it. So if you, again, take a step back and you try and imagine everything that was going on from a higher perspective, as I said, that you're hanging on the ceiling somewhere looking down at what's happening, you're zooming out and you're looking at what's happening, you would be like, what the hell is happening? I remember the Simpsons episode where they were convinced that, what were they convinced? The world is ending, or I can't even remember what were they were convinced that something was happening, and the only way to survive was to act like animals. So everybody were rolling in mud and making noises as pigs and cows and dogs and stuff like that. And then Lisa came in and she was like, it was a hoax. What the fuck are you doing, kind of thing. That's how it feels to me. It's like, and then everybody were laughing at the Springfield, basically, because they were like, Jesus man, the whole town actually believed it was like April 1st joke or something. It kind of felt like that a bit, looking from the ceiling. I should start calling these episodes Looking from the Ceiling. But that's basically what it is. So back to my original question, do you ever feel like it's the world or the society or the way we live our lives is so damn ridiculous sometimes that it's almost easier to believe that it's an illusion, and actually choose to just look at it as if it's a game? I heard somebody, I can't remember who that was, it was somebody's perspective on the life itself, and the guy was a gamer, and he was like, that's how I look at it right now. It's like you go from one level to another. If you do well, you unlock another level and you get these upgrades and stuff, and I don't game. I don't know what they get. You unlock the next level and you get more ammo. I don't know, depending what kind of game you play in, I suppose. I kind of thought that everybody has different perspective. Although I'm completely clueless in gaming, right, and I don't get it, his perspective on it I really liked, because he was like applying it through his own lens. He was looking at the world from his own lens and making sense of it in one way or another to help him cope, if you know what I mean. So if you're, for example, I don't know, if you're a painter, right, or you're an artist, let's say, that paints, maybe your perspective on life is like everything's so colorful, everything's so beautiful, everything's just moving energies, or there are some artists that see everything really dark and stuff like that. So it's almost him having this ability to look at life through his gaming perspective almost made him an artist as well, because he's painting his own realities through his own perspective, just like a true artist would do. I think everybody should do that. I think everybody's perspective on life is so interesting, and you're never gonna be the only one. I know we're all unique in our own ways, we're all authentic, and we should strive for that, but there's beauty in the fact that there will be a lot of people that will connect to your specific perspective. However unique and authentic you are, people will be drawn to that, because as much as we are authentic, we are also connected at the soul level. And it's that familiarity, it's that I don't even know how to describe it. It's that deeper connection. It's almost sometimes you kind of feel, back to my theory about the soul connections, how some people land on the earth in these baskets, right, as a souls. That's how the soulmate theory, right? We land from the sky, from the universe, we land on earth in these baskets like Easter eggs, and then we hit the ground, and us and the other eggs, other souls in that basket get scattered all over the world, and then we bump into each other at some point, and we're like, you feel instant connection. So that's what's happening when you share your own unique perspective, right? Your soulmates find a way to you. So somebody who landed here in the same basket, right? That's how you find your soulmates. I think that's why we feel connected. It doesn't make us unauthentic or take away our perspective, the uniqueness of our, or the authenticity of our perspective, if others kind of feel the same. No, it just shows that, it just proves that we're not alone on this earth. We're never meant to be alone. Everybody's on different life paths. When you look from the energy perspective, from the soul perspective into everything that's happening, nobody's ever truly alone. So if you look, for example, if you look at somebody who spends all of their life reading and exploring and traveling and just collecting bloody butterflies and collecting books about history and just telling stories and watching the news and focusing on the past and preserving things, and if you look at someone like that, you kind of think, what the hell is that person doing with their life? From energetic or soul perspective, it's more likely than not that this person chose to spend this lifetime exploring and recording and being a sage, but essentially just collecting, analyzing, learning, documenting It's just, that's what they chose to do in this life. Each one of us, before we even land on this earth, in accordance to the reincarnation theory, right? We sign a soul contract. In that soul contract, we agree what we want to do with our life in this lifetime on earth. So if you believe that you are an limitless divine being, this free soul that can reincarnate time and time again, it kind of makes sense once you believe that. So you come into this life, you sign up a contract, you go, in this lifetime, in that guy's situation, in this lifetime, I want to document, I want to explore, I want to learn the history, I want to do this and that and that and that, and they're completely content with being by themselves, living by themselves. Everybody else thinks they're depressed, or they're weirdos, or they just don't want to talk to them because they're always so serious about their history books and, butterfly colors or whatever else they're interested in, and the insects and stuff. Everybody else kind of pushes them away. That person, though, is not depressed. That person is content because they're on their life path. That's what they chose to do in this lifetime. They're content. They're fine being the outcasts. They don't give a monkeys about it. They just do their own thing, right? There are so many people who are actually content with being away from everybody else. Those people, more likely than not, they just came to this, landed in this lifetime to just explore, record, archive, and just chill. Some people who are just traveling, and enjoying life and everything, they chose this lifetime to be their holiday. Basically, they have no worries in their lives. They've probably done a lot of work in previous lifetimes. They felt probably like 800 lifetimes, and then they felt, okay, I earned enough good karma points to now have this lifetime as my holiday, and they just go and travel and inspire people, and you just chill, and you just think, what the hell, why can't I be like this? And that's one of their purposes, to actually get you questioning that, because they just lead by example, right? They are here to show you how you can be once you put the work in. So they are here to inspire, to trigger those questions in you. So they're serving their purpose too, just like the history guy, right? There are other people who seemingly are trying and failing miserably to fit in the matrix. And those people come to work and they just moan all the time. Nothing's right for them. Everybody's kind of trying to keep away from that negative person because you don't want to get triggered. But if you actually stop to listen what that person is moaning about, it's all the stupidity and the paradoxes of life. It's like, why are we complying with this? What's the point of doing this? Why are we, why do we 5 of us are spending 14 days working on one presentation that will literally be presented in 30 minutes, and then nobody's gonna ever look at that back again? So that person, more likely than not, is actually asking those questions. You just choose to ignore it, and because they trigger you. What I'm trying to say is basically, we as a society, we try to push and make them outcasts. Push them away, and make them outcasts because we don't like what kind of thoughts they are triggering in us. If we would all choose to just stop and listen to people who are moaning, let's say, not saying that some of them are just whingers, I'm not gonna deny that, but others are actually, they have a point. And if you chose to, even if you don't like that person, if you just chose to pick up on a couple of points that they said and try to apply them from your perspective, more likely than not, they would trigger some things in you as well. You would try to start to question things, and then potentially you would change the job, or you would, realize that there's more in life than what you're doing right now. all of these people with the different missions are here to trigger something in you, not only to fulfill their soul contracts that they've signed before they landed on this lifetime, but also to trigger something in you. And you will be drawn to these people that are specifically related to your life path as well, because you came from the same basket. You're always going to feel that pull to your soulmates. There's always going to be that invisible bond between you, that invisible cord of energetic connection between you and your soulmates. It's not always romantic soulmates. It could be friends. It could be just that person that you met at the coffee shop somewhere in Italy when you were on holiday and you clicked straight away, and you're friends for the last 20 years and you spend holidays at each other's. You know what I mean? There's no explanation, no logical explanation how that happens. It's as if it's by magic. It's not really. The reincarnation, soul reincarnation theory actually explains that and makes it so simple to understand that it almost feels too simple to be true, because our lives are so complicated. Some explanation like I just described seems almost too simple to be true. But the truth is always simple. It's the lies that makes it complicated. So if you think that life is complicated, think how many lies there are, how many things we are forced on us, how many things are created as illusions to control us, to prevent us from reaching this point where we question things. Imagine everything's right in our faces. You know, we have these people who are triggering us to look within, to actually question what is happening, and our automatic reaction is to reject them, to push them aside, to make them outcasts because they don't belong, because they annoy us with their questions, right? So that's top level brainwash, isn't it? When you think about it, really. How can you reject a challenge? It's almost like you're choosing to switch off your brain. Like your brain is trying to, or your intuition is trying to tell you something. If you listen to that person and they kind of annoy you, you know, that colleague of yours that's always moaning about things, if it didn't trigger you at any level, you wouldn't even mention it to anyone. But because you're always moaning about that person and the things that they're saying, that just shows that you're triggered. That person is triggering something in you. You can't unhear what they're saying. So it's your soul trying to get your attention to say, look, this guy is triggering something in me. I think we need to change something. And then all you end up doing is just moaning about the guy and trying to avoid them and just gossip about them and talk shit about them. That's a standard. I know it sounds stupid, but that's the standard reaction, isn't it? The life is so, especially right now, it's so ridiculous. It used to be ridiculous. When you look at the history, throughout the history, right? The only way for anybody to get any information used to be newspapers. There were no phones, so everybody was just writing letters to each other, and all the information would be delayed, and whatever somebody's written in the stamped letter was deemed to be truth because there was no way to check it. Even now, right? Somebody says, this is what's happening, there's, on another side of the world, blah, blah, blah. Everything can be fabricated. Like, literally everything. And if the main media is gonna choose to show it from one angle, no number of people with their own cameras who filmed the same thing and to prove that everything was staged. No number of those would ever achieve the effect that the main media has on people's perception of what's happening in the world, in life. We are so conditioned to just go with what the mainstream is saying. More often than not, we actually, if we start questioning things, we lose people around us that are closest to us because they don't agree. So then when all else fails almost, when all of those triggers from people around you fail, when social media fails, blah blah blah, and then people start pushing you away if you start questioning things yourself as well. There's so many blockages wherever you turn to prevent you from actually escaping the matrix. They're playing on the emotions, they're playing on the fear of being alone, of being rejected, of everybody wants to belong. But why do we want to belong? Why do we want to fit in with everybody else so badly when we're here on this earth to be authentic? Why do we try so hard to fit in when we landed here to be our authentic selves? How about I tell you that you even listening to these podcasts means that you're taking the next step, which wasn't potentially on your soul contract when you entered this earth to experience it in this lifetime. What if you're just gonna teleport yourself into the new version of yourself and you're gonna escalate your own soul so much quicker than you anticipated just because you made the choice to listen to someone like me, to some other podcasts, this tarot readers, oracle readers, people who share their knowledge, Reiki masters, whatever you're interested in. It could be some very successful business people changing your perspective. That's somehow more acceptable to have mentors like that, right? Because they help you navigate the matrix, right? When it comes to the spiritual stuff, it's not acceptable anymore. You become this wishy-washy snowflake that nobody wants to talk to. But that's why it's very important for you to surround yourself with the right kind of people. So people who are like-minded or who at least accept who you are. And I do have a few people around me who listen to all of my wishy-washiness, if you like, all of my snowflake stuff about the spirituality and about the reincarnations and soul contracts and stuff. I can see they're listening to me. They think I'm nuts probably, but they kind of don't at the same time. So they're not getting into the depths of all of that, but they kind of enjoy the wisdom that comes out of it. So that's what I'm trying to create here as well. I don't force anybody to do anything, right? All I'm trying to do is I'm talking whatever is happening in my head and the way I see the world. So I'm talking about my perspective in hopes that it will trigger something in you to start thinking about something. Maybe you're gonna start sharing your perspective with people around you. Maybe you're gonna go and start your own podcast and your own YouTube videos. I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna do with this information. Some people will definitely choose to just talk shit about me and how shitty everything I say is and how scattered I am and all that. So be my guest. I mean, what the hell are you doing here if you come to a podcast where you want to claim your energy back and all you're doing is wasting your energy? Your choice is to waste your energy to just spread negativity. I don't know, question your life choices, mate. That's all I'm gonna say. In terms of people around you, and if you start talking about these things, just notice how people react, if you start talking about, oh, I watched this podcast or I listened to this podcast and something was said and it got me thinking about this and that, if they immediately reject it, let them be. Let them be. If the second time you talk about it, they kind of go, you're getting, what's wrong with you? Are you losing your marbles, basically? Let them be. Don't try and force. The biggest mistake that I can see a lot of people doing when they kind of turn to spirituality or awaken in whatever way, to the awakening can be just simple choice to break from the herd mentality. So not going with the flow, but actually questioning things. It could be as simple as that. It doesn't even have to be spiritually oriented or anything. A lot of people just sit down and they start flooding Facebooks and Instagrams of the world with these research, I suppose, of everything they read, everything they said, blah 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 blah, and they start then arguing with everybody else. That's when your efforts are wasted, right? It's not your job to convince anybody that your way or whatever you learned is the truth and everything that everybody else's way of living is completely wrong. It's not your job. It's not anybody's job, right? Everybody have their own choices. All I'm saying, that's why I'm doing this so laid back, basically. This is I've noticed that what I say to people helps them, inspires them, and makes them make their own choices. Not even saying that, everybody's doing as I do. So even if I say, I've done this and that, some people take on the advice and, they see it worked on me. So they try it themselves and it works on them. Woohoo. And so that creates this chain reaction. So then they tell their mom, I've done this because Nikki done that and it worked for her, worked for me. So then maybe their mom is going to do the same and it works for her. And then the word spreads and everybody's kind of doing something like that. And it's really cool, but I only was talking with my friend about my life and what I've done. And she took it from there. And then she was talking to her mom, and her mom took it from there. So it's everybody's personal choice. Neither of us in this example forced anybody to do anything. So be very wary when your attitudes change, however tempting it is to just teach everybody the new stuff and just present it as the only source of truth. Try and prevent yourself from doing that. Do it for yourself. Don't try to get into the teacher's mode and just say, that's the only way, this is how it is and everything else is crap and this is the conspiracy theory that supports this and that and that and that and that. Just people reject that automatically. It's just my advice. You can go that way, but it makes you miserable. I just met someone who tried to do that and they were like, how did you get so many people to just, take on your advice? I was like, I didn't care. I really didn't care whether they're gonna take it or not. So I wasn't forcing that on them because it's not my job. It's not my job. And it's not my responsibility to make other people happy. It's not my responsibility to save anyone. It is my absolute right to share my experience, and it's my choice. So I'm sharing my perspective with you on these things in hopes that it will help somebody. It hopes that it will trigger something in you. I'm not saying that anybody should do anything the way I do. I'm just saying, here's a little seed of a thought, of an idea. Do what you will with it. My intentions are always pure, and I'm always here for you. Look after yourselves. I'm here for you always. Nikki.